You're listening to Beezy Beez Sleep Stories, created for the restless, the curious, and those who find themselves wide awake when the world goes quiet. To listen to more stories like this one, please visit deepbearsleep.com. Tonight's story, Walking the Lines, a field guide to choosing your life. Let's begin. Chapter 3, The Grip. There are days when life seems to notice exactly what you care about most, and then place a hand on it, not to comfort it, not to bless it, but to squeeze. Maya would later call this the grip, but on that Thursday morning she didn't have a name for it yet. She only knew that something felt tight. It started before she even left the apartment. The coffee maker sputtered and spilled, not dramatically, just enough to leave a brown trail down the counter and onto the floor. Then she realized the shirt she had planned to wear, the pale blue one that made her feel calm and competent, still had the dry cleaning tag pinned to the sleeve. She stood in the hallway for a full 10 seconds, with one shoe on and one shoe off, holding two different blouses and staring at the wall like it might offer guidance. It was presentation day, not a huge, career-defining presentation. Not one of those movie moments where everyone's future depends on one speech and one perfectly timed click of a remote. But still, big enough, important enough, big enough that she had thought about it while brushing her teeth, while making dinner the night before, while falling asleep, and again in the quiet few minutes before sunrise when her mind had started sorting through worst-case scenarios, as if it were doing something helpful. The client had been difficult lately. Her boss had been acting distant. The numbers were solid, but the story behind them still felt fragile in her hands. It mattered, and that was the problem. On the train into the city, Maya could feel her whole system leaning forward. Her breath was high in her chest. Her jaw was tight again. Her thoughts moved in narrow loops. Don't mess this up, just get through it. Please let this go smoothly. Why didn't you rehearse one more time? What if they ask about Q4? What if Greg interrupts again? She stood near the train doors, one hand gripping the pole, the other wrapped around her bag strap. Outside the window the world passed in gray slashes, buildings, fences, patches of sky. Inside the train people swayed with that practiced city balance that made it look like they weren't moving at all. And that's when she noticed it. Noticed herself, not just the thoughts, the posture, the hold, the clench. It wasn't only that she wanted the presentation to go well, it was that she had wrapped herself around it. Her mood, her identity, her sense of safety, all of it was suddenly tangled with one meeting at 10:30 a.m. And somewhere in the back of her mind, she heard the benchman's voice. Not the exact words, just the feeling of him. That quiet steadiness. That way he had said, clutching makes the world push back. Maya closed her eyes for one stop, just one. She didn't try to relax, and she didn't try to manifest anything. She only asked the question she'd been learning to ask. What line am I on right now? The answer came quickly. The if this goes wrong, it means something about me line. She opened her eyes, and then another realization rose behind it. She was gripping the outcome so tightly that she had made the whole morning smaller, narrower, harder to move through. It wasn't just importance, it was overimportance, the grip. She whispered it to herself, almost amused. The grip. A man beside her glanced over and then away. She smiled faintly and looked back out the window. Naming it helped. Not because it vanished, it didn't, but because it became visible. And once something is visible, you can stop mistaking it for the weather. By the time she reached the office, the grip was still there. But now it had edges. She could feel it in the way she set her bag down too quickly, in the way she reopened the slide deck and changed one sentence, then changed it back, in the way she checked her email 3 times in 6 minutes. Her coworker Lena leaned over the partition wall holding a banana and a file folder. "You good?" Lena asked. Maya looked up. There was something kind and practical about Lena. She always looked like she had already accepted that life was messy and had dressed appropriately for it. "Define good," Maya said. Lena nodded. "Ah, presentation day. That obvious? You've opened the same spreadsheet 4 times in 10 minutes. Maya sighed. "I just want it to go well." Lena peeled the banana halfway and shrugged. "That's fair." "No," Maya said. "I don't just want it to go well. I need it to go well. And I know that's probably the issue." Lena tilted her head. "The issue?" Maya hesitated. Then, because she had been keeping too much of this new inner language to herself, she said it. "The more I grip something, the more it pushes back." Lena stared at her for a beat. Then she said very calmly, "That is either very wise or very sleep-deprived." Maya laughed. "Possibly both." Lena stepped around the partition and leaned against Maya's desk. "So what does not gripping look like?" Maya opened her mouth, closed it, then answered slowly. "I think it means remembering that the meeting matters, but it's not my whole life. It means doing my part without acting like the universe hinges on whether Greg from procurement nods in the right place. It means letting this be important without making it sacred." Lena blinked. Then she pointed the banana at her like a judge issuing a ruling. That, she said, was annoyingly good. At 10:22, Maya walked into the conference room. The screen was already on. The chairs were too cold. Someone had left behind a half-empty bottle of sparkling water and 3 different pens that probably didn't work. Greg was there, of course. Her boss, Nina, sat at the far end of the table, expression unreadable. 2 client reps joined by video. Maya connected her laptop, waited for the slides to load, and then the first pushback arrived. The font was wrong. Not wrong in a catastrophic sense, and just wrong enough that everything looked slightly shifted and unprofessional. The charts had reformatted themselves overnight, and the spacing on slide 6 looked off. She felt her stomach dip. The grip tightened instantly. "See? This is what happens. You should have checked again this morning. You should have gotten here earlier. This already looks bad." She clicked through quickly, hoping maybe it was only 1 slide. It wasn't. Greg cleared his throat. The client rep on screen adjusted her glasses. Maya could feel heat rising in her chest, and then Nina said, "Go ahead when you're ready." There was no time to fix it, no time to reformat, no time to spiral properly, so Maya began. The first 2 minutes were fine, not great, fine. She heard her own voice sounding slightly too careful. The kind of careful that comes from self-monitoring instead of speaking. Then Greg interrupted. He didn't mean to derail her. Greg never meant to derail anyone. He just had the special skill of making every room bend toward whatever thought had most recently occurred to him. "Before we get too deep in," he said, "can we revisit the assumptions around fulfillment timing? Because I'm still not convinced we've pressure tested." And there it was, the exact fear she had rehearsed in the shower, the interruption, the shift, the challenge. Maya felt her body prepare for battle. Her chest tightened, her mind sped up. Every internal voice shouted at once, "Defend it, prove it, don't look weak, fix it now, don't lose the room." This was the old line, the familiar one, the one where she over-explained, over-defended, and left the meeting exhausted and slightly ashamed, even if she technically won. She could already feel herself reaching for it, and then something inside her paused, tiny, barely noticeable, a small interior stillness, like a hand on her wrist. She heard the word again, grip. She saw it, not metaphorically, actually saw it in herself, her hand clenching the remote, her shoulders lifted, her whole being wrapped around the need to control how this moment unfolded. And for the first time, right in the middle of it, she did something new. She loosened, not dramatically, not obviously, she just let one breath go all the way out. Her fingers softened around the remote, her shoulders dropped 1 inch, and inside she made one quiet decision. I do not need to win this moment, I only need to stay on my line. Then she looked at Greg and said evenly, "That's a fair question. Let me answer it simply." Simple, not defensive, not brilliant, just simple. She clicked to the next slide, the one with the timing assumptions, and explained what they had tested, what they were still modeling, and where the uncertainty remained. She didn't fill the air with unnecessary explanation. She didn't apologize for complexity. She didn't scramble to make the uncertainty disappear. And strangely, almost annoyingly, the room settled. Greg nodded. One of the client reps leaned in. Nina uncrossed her arms. The moment passed, not because Maya controlled it, because she stopped fighting it. The rest of the presentation changed shape after that. Not perfectly. There were still awkward slides. One of the charts was still ugly. A client question caught her off guard, but she stayed with herself. Each time she felt the grip return, and it did return, she named it silently. There you are, and each time she loosened. A breath, a dropped shoulder, a simpler sentence. What surprised her most was not that this helped. It was how normal it looked from the outside. No one in the room knew she was changing lines in real time. No one saw the inner hallway of doors. No one heard the chorus of fear losing volume. All they saw was a woman who seemed composed, a woman who didn't flinch, a woman who trusted her own timing. By 11:14, the meeting was over. The client signed off with a clear next step. Greg had moved on to a logistics concern. Lena gave her a subtle thumbs up from the far chair. People began collecting laptops and pens and water bottles. The room exhaled. Maya stayed seated for 1 extra second, just one. Long enough to feel what had happened. It hadn't gone perfectly, but it had gone differently. And different was everything. Back at her desk, she expected a crash, that old post-adrenaline drop. But instead there was a strange, clean quiet inside her. Not victory, not even relief exactly, more like space. She opened her notebook and wrote, "The grip creates pushback. Loosening is not giving up. Loosening lets reality breathe." Then she added, "What I loosened today, the need to seem flawless, the fear of being interrupted, the idea that one meeting could define me." She stared at the words for a long moment, then underlined the last one twice. At 12:03, her inbox chimed, an internal calendar invite from Nina. Subject line, "Can we talk?" No context, no emojis, no nice job. Just those 3 words. Maya stared at the screen. Her nervous system reacted before her thoughts could catch up. A pulse in her throat, that familiar drop in her stomach. The first quick reach of old meaning. You messed something up. She hated it. This is bad, and of course, this is how it goes. The grip came rushing back, almost triumphant. "See," it seemed to say, "you loosened too early." Maya leaned back in her chair, closed her eyes, and asked the question anyway. What line am I on right now? The answer came in 2 parts. First, the assumed danger line, then softer, there may be another door. She opened her eyes and looked again at the invite. 3:30 p.m., Nina's office, no explanation, just "Can we talk?" Maya clicked accept, and for the first time all day. She had no idea what would happen next. To be continued,